Most of us have lived long enough to know that life throws violent, unexpected curveballs. You are moving forward, following the rules, and suddenly you absorb a blindside hit that shatters your trajectory. When tragedy strikes, our default instinct is to shrink our reference point to the micro view, where immediate, painful circumstances are all you see. Confined to this microscopic box, we hyper-focus on the specific individuals who betrayed or abandoned us. Staring closely at those jagged edges creates a deep, compounding bitterness. You spend days and years trapped in an unanswerable loop, asking why life had to treat you so unfairly. Fixating on the people who caused your pain doesn't punish them, it actually shackles you to them. You hand the perpetrators the other end of your emotional leash, allowing an event from years ago to dictate your current reality. If your unfair circumstances are your only metric for understanding reality, you will spend your life as an angry victim, entirely at the mercy of luck and the cruelty of others. The macro view requires recognizing a sovereign controller who is large enough to hold the entire world between a thumb and pinky finger, yet detailed enough to track a single falling sparrow. To see how this macro control operates through extreme suffering, we can examine a historical case of compounding injustice, the ancient story of Joseph in Egypt. Joseph's descent begins with absolute betrayal. Out of pure jealousy, his own brothers throw him into a pit, strip his identity, and sell him into foreign slavery. He climbs the ladder in his master's house through sheer diligence, only to face a secondary betrayal. He refuses the seduction of his master's wife, does the right thing, and is rewarded with a false rape accusation that lands him in a dungeon. For 13 years, every time his circumstances improved, Joseph was violently shoved further down the societal ladder. If you isolate this final data point in the microview, it is an isolated black box of stolen youth and wasted potential. Yet the record shows Joseph never succumbed to the bitterness of that box. Spiritual maturity requires looking directly at the devastating hand of man and consciously searching for the invisible hand of God. That invisible hand reveals itself through a sudden, highly improbable pivot. A forgotten conversation with a former cellmate leads the Pharaoh to summon Joseph. Within 24 hours, the trajectory completely inverts. Joseph is pulled from a lightless cell and installed as the second in command of the most powerful empire on earth. There was no mathematical way for a Hebrew foreigner to climb the Egyptian political ladder organically. The pit, slavery, and false accusation were the exact required coordinates to bypass the natural hierarchy and position him to save an entire nation. Years later, his starving brothers stand before him, terrified of the man they sold. Joseph looks at his abusers and states the core thesis of his life. You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good. A sovereign controller does not author the malice of other people, but he will absolutely hijack their evil intentions to maneuver you exactly where you need to be. This highly calculated positioning still happens. A sudden broken leg on a football field ends a young man's athletic career, forcing a sequence of decisions that leads him to a specific city to build a specific organization. The break is required for the destination. Deep, prolonged suffering is not a cosmic accident. When you are doing the right thing and everything is moving in reverse, you have entered a highly controlled testing ground. Think of it like a pilot locked inside a flight simulator. The alarms are blaring, the cabin is shaking violently, and it feels like the end. But the simulator isn't real danger. It is an artificial stress environment, completely controlled by the programmer outside the box. The turbulence is applied to force you to hone your reactions in the dark. You learn the instruments in the simulator so that when you are finally elevated into the real sky, you know exactly how to keep the aircraft from crashing. To pass the test, you have to rewire your perspective. You have to press the delete button on your obsession with the people who pushed you into the pit. When you recognize your abusers were just unwitting tools in your transition, you can finally look them in the eye and offer total, unreserved forgiveness. Acknowledging sovereignty over your worst moments releases those who hurt you from the debt. You slip the collar of the past, and having survived the simulator, you are ready for the elevation that was being prepared in the dark.